Change is something we often say we want, but why is it so difficult to actually achieve? Why do we find ourselves repeating old patterns even when we know they don't serve us? It's a question that comes up a lot in therapy. Clients come in wanting to change, to be less anxious, more confident, to break free from toxic relationships, to finally feel good enough. Yet despite all their conscious efforts, they find themselves slipping back into the same old sabotaging behaviors. The reason for this is that real change doesn't happen at the surface level of our conscious mind. It happens in the depths of our unconscious, in the places where our deepest beliefs, fears and wounds reside. And often those unconscious beliefs are not in alignment with our conscious wishes. Imagine it like this. On the surface, you say you want to be more confident, to step out of your comfort zone, to take risks. But beneath that desire, there's a part of you that believes you're not good enough, that you'll never succeed, that being seen is dangerous. Consciously, you want to change. Unconsciously, however, you're resisting it. This conflict creates an inner tug of war, and the unconscious almost always wins. Why? Because those unconscious beliefs were formed in childhood at a time when they served us as protective mechanisms. If you grew up in an environment where you felt unsafe, unnoticed, unseen, or criticized, your unconscious mind developed certain beliefs and behaviors to protect you from further harm. Now, as an adult, those same protective, childlike mechanisms are still in place, even if they no longer serve you. The inner critic, which once tried to keep you in line to avoid, say, rejection or punishment, now criticizes you for not being good enough, for not being successful, for not measuring up. And the inner wounded child, who once believed they were unworthy of love or belonging or attention, still feels that way, no matter how much you consciously tell yourself otherwise. So what happens when your conscious desires clash with those unconscious beliefs? Self-sabotage. You set a goal, but you procrastinate. You start a new relationship, but you push the person away. Eventually, you tell yourself you're going to start that new project, but somehow you never get around to it. It's not that you don't want to change. It's that your unconscious mind is trying to keep you safe by keeping you in a familiar territory, even if that territory is painful or unfulfilling. It's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. And to your unconscious mind, the unknown is a threat. So what do we do with this resistance? How do we bridge the gap between what we consciously want and what our unconscious mind believes we deserve or can handle? The first step is awareness. We can't change what we're not aware of or don't understand. In therapy, bringing unconscious resistance to the surface involves paying close attention to those inner voices, the voice of the inner critic and the voice of the wounded inner child. The inner critic is the part of you that says, you'll never succeed. You're just not good enough. Who do you think you are to go after that goal? It's harsh, critical, and often relentless. But beneath that criticism is fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of being seen, fear of shame. The inner critic believes that by keeping you small, by keeping you stuck, it's keeping you safe. And then there's the inner child. This is the part of you that carries the wounds, the unmet needs growing up, the unprocessed emotions from childhood. If the inner child was shamed for expressing their needs, they might now feel unworthy of love, attention, or belonging. If the inner child was ignored or neglected, they might now feel invisible or simply unimportant, that they don't matter. Both of these inner parts, the critic and the inner child, are trying to protect you, but in ways that keep you stuck. And this is where the concept of the nurturing parent comes in. The nurturing parent is the part of you that can hold both the inner critic and the inner child with compassion and empathy. It's the part that can say to the inner critic, I understand you're trying to protect me from failure, but I don't need to stay small to be safe anymore. And it can say to the inner child, I see your fear of being abandoned, and I'm here with you. You're not alone anymore. So when we learn to develop this nurturing parent within, we can start to bridge the gap between our conscious desires and our unconscious resistance. We can create a space where both the critic and the inner child feel seen, feel heard and reassured. And in that space, real change becomes possible. But this isn't a one-time fix. It's a practice, a daily practice of tuning into those inner voices, acknowledging their fears and responding with compassion instead of criticism or even suppression. When we meet our resistance with empathy rather than force, we begin to disarm it. We show our unconscious mind that it's now safe to step into the unknown, that it's safe to succeed, that it's safe to grow. And in that safety, change can finally take root. Not as a superficial shift or temporary shift in behaviour, but as a deep, integrated transformation that aligns our conscious desires with our unconscious beliefs. That's when real change happens. That's when we stop sabotaging ourselves and start stepping into the life we truly want to live. And if you'd like help bringing about permanent change, visit my website and book a free discovery call, and let's see what's possible.